So, yesterday, it seemed like everybody was thinking that it was hilarious to make fun of Charlie Kirk. And the day before that, oh, it's so funny. Ha 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 ha. Right? All of a sudden today, it's, oh no, the shooter was right wing and he wasn't even on our team, and it's why would you even think it was on our team? Why would you even think he's on our side? That's so crazy. No, he's totally far right. After you just spent all day in the last 2 days laughing your faces off in total agreement, and not a single Republican out there doing the same thing. Not a single Groyper, let's say, Groyper either, is out there going, thank God Charlie Kirk's dead. Not a single Groyper. But here we are. All of a sudden, now it's it's far right Groypers. I feel like these people think that we're all born last night every single day. Do you think that we're all like lobotomized? And like, you really don't understand your enemy if you're on the left, because you just assume that you think that we're so dumb that we're gonna believe that. But here's the thing, we're used to using reality and facts, and you guys are new to this using facts thing, and it seemed like you guys were using a lot of facts to use for all your arguments back there to try to make this guy look like a leftist. I mean, a far rightist. Sorry. And it seemed like you were doing that, but it seemed like everybody on the right sitting there going, what? What are you even talking about? Like, nobody assumed that at all. It was crazy. It was crazy to hear it for the first time that I heard it, that it's somehow he's right wing. And I'm like, and then the fact that so many people are saying, oh yeah, and everyone get on board, everyone using all of their mental strength to run these narratives. Here's the thing. Also, the people who are running those narratives are all the people that were caught with paid accounts from the DNC, which is very suspect. Because it's like, it's not some third party who's running all this defense. It's the DNC, which makes me think that why you get so defensive, bro? You're sounding really sus. And why is it the Democrats and lefts the ones doing all this in the first place? Why are they the ones that are the ones saying that they're far right? That he's far right? That's very suspect. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Why would you guys be the ones out here playing defense? You sound like you're sus, bro. Right? Doesn't that sound super sus? I mean, it could be anybody out here defending any position under the sun. But it's the Democrats? Why is it always the Democrats? Why is it always the left that has to smear it onto the right? We didn't even say that it was a far left, but we just we're trying to come to the conclusion because it seems so obvious. We're only using the facts as they come out to find the most logical explanation here. And we're only coming to the Occam's razor conclusion about this stuff. And then here we go. We have the Democrats pushing this crazy, oh, he's a far right guy. And it's like, what? We were only coming to logical conclusions based on how obvious it was. And then here we are now that he allegedly might be in a relationship with a trans person. Okay. So I had a irking in my spirit about, because everyone was trying to figure out who's his influence, who's the influence. And I was sitting there going, most people are influenced by, content creators, and people have said this. Who's he watching, right? But I was sitting there going, the person who influences you the most is usually your love interest. It's like what they say, behind every great man is a great woman. Supportive woman. And in this case, a supportive, a trans woman, right? And so, obviously, they said that this person just rolled and said, oh, I have no idea what's going on. Okay. But it's I kind of had that feeling in my heart that it would have been, because I was thinking in my head, what, if it was a far leftist that was doing all this stuff, that was getting radicalized, in my mind's eye, I just imagined some girl with black hair, black fingertips, you know what I mean? Piercings all over her face and blue hair. And this guy trying to impress this girl. And she just saying yeah, Charlie Kirk's he's a fascist. We should kill him because he's a fascist. You know what I mean? In my mind's eye, I just imagine that's what an Antifa person is dating some gothed out, chick, some Satan worshipping chick, some self-proclaimed witch or something. You know what I mean? But here we are. It's a trans woman. Trans man? I don't know how you say that. Is it trans woman or man? I don't know. If it's a man, do you call it and it's transitioned into a trans woman, do you call it I don't know. Okay. But, not around a lot of trans people. So, sitting there going, is that the person that's most influential? And I think the most people, again, Occam's razor, are saying the same thing. That person was defending their love interest against somebody who they claimed to be the enemy of their relationship and their belief system and everything. And it's like everyone keeps saying, oh, it's political beliefs. Why would you kill somebody over political beliefs? Nobody ever really does it over political beliefs. Political beliefs are only moral beliefs in a package built for everybody. It's morality. It's law and policy based on morals ascribed to everybody in the government. It's so weird that people go, oh, political beliefs. I have my own political beliefs. That's the same thing as having a moral belief that you have policy about. Where did you get your policy? Well, you interpreted it from your moral beliefs. And it's like, oh, well, moral beliefs are subjective. Well, then that's the policies you're going to come up with. And most people would say, hey, that's not a great policy because your morals aren't good. And if your morals aren't good, then your policies aren't going to be good. Because everyone knows that morally speaking, if you have the best morals, then you have the best policy. Because moral means the best for all people. It means the best for an individual and others influenced by the circumstance of the decision. What are we missing here? How are we not knowing this? How is this not part of people's mental, how do they not know a simple thing as such as what your political belief is? It's like so weird that everyone, who would kill somebody over political beliefs? Who in the world believes it's actually just politics? Give me a break. And are we just hiding behind politics? The banner of politics? Oh, it's just politics. Because, I mean, you have to have, like, I think some people make the argument for their political beliefs based on logic, but that's how you get to the best moral conclusion anyways. Using moral logic. I mean, of course, you can use logic, but logic isn't the same as moral logic. Logic says, oh, there's something in front of me. I guess I better shoot it, get it out of my way. Oh, that was my son. My toddler. Bang. I just shot him and got him out of my way. I guess my toddler isn't in my way anymore. So that's using logic to its purest form, but without morality. You have to have morality with logic for it to be a perfect system. Because you can just come to a logical conclusion, I need to get this thing out of my face. Okay, punch it. Oh wait, that's my child. You know what I mean? So it's just the ultimate utilitarian position is flawed because it doesn't have morality. And these concepts aren't that hard. But I believe these teachers are not teaching a thing about any of this stuff, and they just get to them. They get these kids to a certain point in their curriculum just to push them off a cliff. They don't give them enough to come to the like a sound conclusion that makes sense. They give them like a half truth and tell them, and it's like as if they've told them the whole story, and then kick them out into the real world and say, you know, have fun being a nihilist. Because that's not really how things work. So I'm just really confused by trying to plug my phone in while I'm driving. Oh my. Okay. My phone has not been charging well, and I'm all over the road now. Pray for my phone. It won't keep charge. I plug it in to charge it, charges for like 5 seconds and then turns off. And then sometimes it charges, sometimes it doesn't. When I need it to charge, it doesn't, it seems like, recently. Anyway. So, I'm just saying, you get to a point where you're not using logic to its sound conclusion, and it's just stopped charging again. Why is it doing that? It charges for like 2 seconds and then it stops charging. So, anyways, if you get a conclusion like that, and you decide, oh, okay, well, since I come to a conclusion, and this is like, I mean, I'm using the most utilitarian argument, like, oh, there's something in my way, I better shoot it. But guess what? That's what Charlie Kirk's assassin did. Oh, something's in my way, I better shoot it. You know what I mean? Like, are we not seeing the correlation here? Like, this is like, it's like the worst case scenario, but it's like the most utilitarian thing to do. So they think that if I have to just be a utilitarian and I just have to come to use the best conclusion, which is, you know what I mean? Like this, and they were saying this kid is like a Reddit kid. And to interpret what a Reddit kid is, if you don't know what a Reddit kid is, people are like, what's a Reddit kid? Let me try to characterize this better. A Reddit kid is somebody who is very nihilistic, very utilitarian, and essentially like using logic without any morality involved whatsoever. And then they come to all these conclusions based on zero reflection upon self, zero reflection upon spirituality, but they claim to do it for their best interest. And like they do it they're going to be utilitarian for themselves. You know, it's like pure capitalism without any restraints. Obviously, is not great. You have to, and that's capitalism is like just a tool, but it's like it's the same as a gun. You have to have morality with the gun to be able to use the gun correctly. You have to have morality to use capitalism correctly. You have to, so it has to have restraints. These systems on their own can be used for good or evil, but that's why it's like these kids are getting taught, oh, capitalism is evil. America is evil. It's like, it's because they think that the system itself, since if it's controlled without morals, then it's evil, and they're right. It's just a system. So they think that whoever's in charge of the system, if they're told that they're evil, then it's justified that, so like they've got half the argument done, but it's only the morals that they believe in, and they're nihilistic and they're utilitarian. So their morals are going to be in the same are the same thing. They're going to be nihilistic and utilitarian. They're not going to have a higher form of morality. They're just going to find the highest form of selfish morality. You see what I'm saying? They're not going to be like, it's not like a moral lawgiver like Jesus or God. Jesus giving us the moral law. They're going to be like, no, that's not real. That's a fairy tale. And they're going to deny that. And they're going to say, oh no, I'm just going to do the morals that I believe are utilitarian for me. They have utility for me. I want it to work for me and me alone. And that's the same thing as like having capitalism without restraint. They just say that capitalism is evil. But it's like, don't you know that there's restrictions in capitalism to make it not evil? Oh, it's like, well, look at it. If you have all this capitalism, if capitalism's so good, then why are so many people in poverty? Well, it's not because capitalism. And why does society owe you anything? That's not how capitalism works. Capitalism doesn't work to give to those who don't work or don't it's like they don't work, so they don't earn into the system and get paid back. It's like, why would it do that? And the only reason why you can have socialism is if you have an excess from capitalism. Because socialism on its own doesn't have excess. Everything just gets handed out to everybody. You can't even have socialism without an excess of funds. And where do you think those funds come from? It's like, and I feel like there's people who are so smart, and they're influencers. They're on YouTube, on TV. And they come up with this crap, and you're like, no. And it's like, you can't get socialism without capitalism. It doesn't exist without somebody making money. But also, it's like you can't have a monopoly on things either. That's why we have restrictions. I think that there should be some more restrictions to make things more moral, but not necessarily all the time and for every case. So it's a very difficult situation to try to figure out the most moral thing. You know, these things are very delicate. And it doesn't mean you just burn the whole thing down. And that's what it seems like the left wants to do. It's like they don't get what they want from the capitalist society, which is, but also they get so much, and it seems like, here's the thing, they get so much, and then it never works. You've been getting how much money in your socialist programs? I mean, they exist. Why don't they work? Oh, it's just not enough money? It's like, what? It's never enough money. Until it's like they want capitalism money, all the excess, but they only want capitalism to work to a certain point so that they can create a parallel economy of all free stuff for one class of people, and then the other class of person has to work and pay the taxes into it. It's actually called a serf class and the bourgeoisie. Do your research on this stuff, man. These socialists, man, all they're doing is creating class warfare, and they're saying that the people, it's the haves, the have-nots, and then but they always use this stuff against the people who are paying into the system, and always paying and always punishing the person who has to get up in the morning and get and pay their taxes. And it's never, ever, ever, ever the fault of anybody else, and you just owe them money. And it's like, if you've worked every day for your money and got taxed out the nose, and anybody asks you for anything for free, you'll say, go get a job. You crazy? If I just went and asked somebody who had a job, if I just asked them for $500, they'd say, I worked my freaking tail end off for that money. You're just going to get it for free? Nobody really wants to give any of their money away. The government literally takes it from them. They wouldn't do it if they didn't have the government make them do it. But there's a lot of infrastructure things. There is a lot of good that goes into the thing. So that's why we all support it. Because we all get supported back from it. We get the roads fixed. We have blah, blah. And it's always the same argument. Oh, you won't have any firemen. Oh, who's going to fix the roads? But no one cares really about that. They're happy to pay money for roads and for firemen, okay? They're just mad about all these people who say that I owe them for not getting up in the morning and going to work and have to lay on their couch all day. And it's like, that money could go to people who are retiring, but from working their whole freaking life. But no, it has to go to somebody who doesn't work their whole life. So I'm sorry. What part of your argument works for everybody? It's always some special class of people that don't have to get up in the morning and go to work and pay their taxes that get the freaking cream of the crop. And it's like, and most of these people who get up and go to work and are functioning parts of society and can get up every day and keep going to work and can function and blah, blah, blah. The reason why they can is because a lot of the time, those people are very moral people. They're moral. They have a family and they're supporting it, or they want a family. And it doesn't mean they're just a capitalist pig and they're selfish. In fact, they're just trying to support somebody else. But they want to support their family. They don't want to support your family who doesn't do anything. You know, it's like, where do you know, it's like these, and it's always college age kids. Okay? The college age kid who has like maybe debt, no experience, some college, but it's all communist, comes out and thinks things gotta change, right? And everyone who's been out in the workforce knows how life really is, goes, okay, aren't you just mad that you spent a lot of money in college and you want us to do it you just want it for free? Well, you know what? You could go online and indoctrinate yourself with communism for free. You really can. So if you didn't go in trying to get an education to set yourself up for a career, and you decide, oh, you know, I'm just going to get it just to radicalize myself, then that's your fault. And I get kids are just like young and they don't know what to do, and they don't know what career they want or how they're going to get there, and they just know that they have to go to college. But it seems like it's always these college age kids that gets the most radicalized. You know, it's like you might have some Karens out there, but the reason why they can get radicalized too is because they're not really part of the workforce either. They're not really paying their taxes. They're somebody's wife who gets everything for free, that doesn't have to work every day. So they can sympathize for the person that doesn't, that, you know, it's like the same thing. It's always women, and it's always these, like, the youth in college. It's always the same people. It's hardly a blue-collar guy who has to pay his taxes and go to work every day. Is anyone, you know, honest with themselves enough to look in themselves, let that right in the eyes and say, oh, well, these people who go to work every day, and then they go, oh, we should change the system and blah, blah, blah. Well, why don't you just let that person keep some of his money, and you don't have to give it away all the time, and that person can just figure out what he wants to give his money to. Like, what's wrong with that person have so much money that they decide, you know, maybe I will give it to somebody who needs help. But they don't have a choice. It's taken anyways. They're giving it to somebody who sits there and says, I demand it. So I'm just happy as can be that they're doing some stuff with, like, taking some people off food stamps and all this other stuff that don't need it, because they're just sitting there demanding it. And it's like you're demanding it, but you don't work. And it's like, well, if I work this job, they won't give it to me. Yeah, because you got the money. If they're like, I can't even work a part-time job. Yeah, because a part-time job will get you that much money, so much money, that you will be able to, oh, well, I have to work 3 jobs to sustain my blah, blah, blah. If you have time to work 3 jobs, then you have 3 part-time jobs. If you actually had one job that's a full-time job, there's no more time in the day. That's why it's called a full-time, because there's no more time left to work. It's like, oh, if I work this much, I won't be able to get my dental. Oh, it's $1,000 a month for medical. Well, not necessarily. If you get a job that has benefits, that's not true. If you get a job that has benefits, that's not true. And then why not find out what job that is that you would say has those benefits? Find out what the qualifications is to get that job. Say, hey, I spent a couple years in college. All I need is a couple more things to squeak into my resume. Bing, bada, boom. And then it's a matter of time before things get paid off and you get where you want to be in your career. And may I remind you that not everybody is out of debt and living their best life debt-free and just spending money on vacations and lattes every day. Can I just tell you, people have debt, and people go without all the time, and sometimes it's good. Sometimes they make really good money. And I'm thankful for everything that I get. I'm just so thankful. And I give it all to the Lord. His glory. His glory in all of it. Because it's like, you basically like, I mean, it's in the Bible. It says if you don't work, you don't eat. And it's like, it's kind of interesting. Like, give some of these people a job where they make good money as the boss, and then tell them to pay the taxes on it. And then in the first day, they'll say, you know what? That's a lot of money. I'm paying a lot of taxes. But they never do that. They never see that. They just think that mommy and daddy will pay for it. And thank God that we do have, we rip on the boomers a lot for making all that so much money and so fast, and their real estate just taking off and all that stuff. And it's hard for us to make the same kind of moves that they did and blah, blah, blah. But thank God that they are there with the money and support that they have in times like this, because where would these kids be if they didn't have mom and dad to support them? Because it is tough. So, I mean, a little bit of thankfulness would be nice. But I feel like these kids they're not thankful. They get pumped full of stuff like everything is owed to them. They have no morals. They're just taught to be nihilistic, and there is no God, no spirituality, and there's no spiritual reality. And they're taught that, and they go out in the real world, and then they're confronted with people like Charlie Kirk, who is telling them how it all works. And it's like these people get indoctrinated, and then they meet somebody like Charlie Kirk, and then they go, this is so different than anything that I've been taught. And dude, I'm telling you, I don't even know why it's happening, but it feels like it's by design. It feels like it's like, I don't know, malicious. Like these people are doing this to take out America. And most people, me included, just say it's demonic. This was a Christian country built on Christian values, built on morality, and now they're trying to strip morality, make you completely utilitarian, nihilistic. God isn't real. Morality is just subjective. And there's no consequences to your actions. Get as much as you can, fulfill your own lusts. And, you know, capitalism is only good as, capitalism is evil, except for, serve yourself, which is basically like capitalism. But it's like, that's why they're like, oh, that's why it's so evil. But like I said, anything is evil without God. You could use anything for evil without God, without morality. Anything could be evil. And that's the point. Anything void of God is an evil place. He just doesn't have to be there, and it just becomes evil. So, if you don't have God, you are very evil. And you probably know it. You probably know how evil you are. You probably know that if you don't know, just be honest with yourself. It's uncomfortable to admit that you're evil, or to admit that without God, everything is pretty evil. But if you do, it's like, well, what's the point of all this character building? I had a conversation earlier today, which I didn't even know until I had the conversation. It just came right out. But it was basically, God wants to give us character and build our character so that we get to know what He's like, and to understand how hard it is to be perfect and moral. And then also, if you overcome any of those things and grow your character, then you'll be able to you'll be able to encourage others, and their little soul will be encouraged. Because you might be able to lift them out of the problem they're in and say, oh, you know, it helps if you let go and have forgiveness for people. Because it was my problem. Oh, maybe I should let that go. Yeah. I'm encouraged now. Good. So, just a couple things on my mind. I'm getting pretty wiped out, pretty tired, driving late, but I'm almost home. So, anyway, hope this helps. Hope this encourages somebody. Love y'all.